Welcome to the HuntFishTravel Podcast. This episode is brought to you by Spy Point Trail Cameras and, of course, Montana Decoy. They are the show's two biggest supporters, and honestly, without them, I would not be able to keep the lights on. But in addition, this episode is brought to you by Troublesome Creek Taxidermy. I recently went on an all-female duck hunt in Michigan, and the owner, a fellow veteran, offered each of us a complimentary mount. I shot my very first duck ever, and I'm so grateful that I'll be able to just look at it in the family room and remember this amazing experience. So I truly just can't thank him enough. It was a really kind gesture. The hunt was hosted by Ultimate Veteran Outdoors, and I can't thank Joe and Andrew enough for their hard work and dedication. The gals that I met, the experience, everything. There will be an episode coming up, and it was awesome. Few quick shout outs to the companies that provided some swag for that hunt. Burn Pit Barbecue, Freebird Coffee, which is delicious, by the way. Apex Ammunition, Vortex Optics, Ducks Unlimited, but Soldier Girl Coffee and Forget Genetics helped cover some of the financial costs, so thank you to them. And Persoma gave us the most amazing gift package. Like, for real, check them out. If you're a veteran and are interested in going on some very cool hunts, be sure to check out Ultimate Veteran Adventures.
Welcome to the HuntFishTravel Podcast, the first and longest running female hosted hunting podcast. When she's not tiptoeing across 10 inches of hard water searching for the perfect place to ice fish, she's helping you navigate your trip of a lifetime. And now, here's your hostess, Carrie Zilka.
Welcome to the HuntFishTravel Podcast. I am your hostess, Carrie Z. This week, we have a very unique guest on, which I'm extremely excited about. I mean, I know I say I'm always excited, but this time I'm like really, really excited. First off, she was recommended by one of the show sponsors, Spy Point Trail Cameras, who, as you guys know, if you've been on my Facebook page, you see I'm obsessed because there's so much activity right now, and it's just so fun getting those pictures directly to my phone. But Trent Marsh had suggested that we connect, and then I think you emailed me, and I was like, oh yeah, I gotta email this chick, because she is an author, a very unique book, which I will let her explain to you. But I mean, she is 2022 Reader Favorite Gold Medal winner. I mean, just she's won a ton of awards, and the book is doing really well. So anyway, Sue Tidwell, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Carrie. It's so nice to be here. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, I am excited to talk to you because so in full disclosure, and I think I've mentioned, I know like hunting Africa is many hunters' dream. It has never been my dream. Because it's expensive and I'm all about eating the meat. So, and you can't bring it back and, you know, like trophies and all that stuff. And as a photographer, there is a big part of me who would rather just go and take photographs rather than dealing with the red tape of trying to get my trophies back. So why don't you explain to the listeners? So, and I preface that because, like I said, Africa's really just never on my radar until I meet someone who puts it on my radar, like Sue Tidwell. So why don't you explain to the listeners the premise of the book and what it's about and your journey in even making the decision to write such a piece?
Okay, geez, where do I start?
I know, like a lot to unpack.
but Africa, first of all, I like to say that it just grabs your heart, and it's like a disease. It infects you, and you just can't let go of it. And so anyway, I felt a lot like you, to be honest. My husband's a hunter, and he always did want to hunt Africa. I'm actually not a hunter, and I understood hunting here in America. I was like you, meat to table, and you know, I grew up in a hunting family where we ate meat, or we ate deer meat was, you know, our staple. But when Rick, my husband, wanted to hunt in Africa, I was just so torn because we have this romantic, we just think differently about African wildlife. And I was one of those people. But once I didn't want to miss out on the adventure. I love adventure. I love going with Rick on hunts. So I put on my big girl pants and I went to Tanzania. And, we had lions roaring outside our tent and hyenas every night, and elephants going through camp. And oh my gosh, it was terrifying and just wonderfully amazing at the same time. But while I was over there, all my skepticism just left. I learned so much while I was there, and having boots on the ground means it just gives you a whole new perspective. I mean, I saw everything through fresh eyes. Everything to me was amazing and wonderful and exciting and scary. And, but we were in, like way remote. So we had a 2.5-hour bush plane just to get to where we were at. We were taken care of by 21 Tanzanians, and, you know, all of our water came out of a little hole in the dried up riverbed. I mean, it was just there was tsetse fly infested. There was tsetse flies everywhere. It was a brutal, brutal landscape. No air conditioning, just sleeping in tents, no pools, nothing like those lodges you see on TV. Mm-hmm. And, as I got to know the people, I learned so much more. I learned why hunting is so critical to Africa and protecting habitat and all that stuff. But, so I just, you know, over the course of the thing, my whole opinion changed, and I recognized even the animals I'd been emotionally attached to, I realized that even those need to have a value put on them. And Carrie, to alleviate your fears, none of that meat goes to waste. You may not be eating all of it. We did eat everything that we ate buffalo tail, we ate buffalo tongue, we ate everything. They ate the staff ate the stomach lining. I didn't eat that, but, nothing goes to waste. And even though we were so remote, we weren't even near enough to a village to take the meat, but they dried it. Like they would cut it into strips and dry it on like clothesline. So we literally had meat hanging everywhere. And then that was taken back to their families at a later time. So even though you're not eating all the meat, I can't tell you, once you know these people and you see the need over there, it's actually, I think you would find it even more rewarding because, you know, we can go to a grocery store. Mm-hmm. Most of these people can't. So to provide meat for people who can't just go to the store and who have very little protein in their diets, it's just an amazing experience, and it's hard not to get choked up about it, to be honest.
Well, but, and I do use that argument a lot of times when anti-hunters come and they, you know, holler about these animals in other countries and stuff. And it is, I mean, nothing goes to waste. Like, nothing goes to waste. They are so resourceful. And even those big trophy hunts where they take, you know, the $30,000 giraffe or whatever it is, every bit of that animal is used and consumed. And then that money goes towards anti-poaching. So I have a hard time because I like to share the fruits of my spoils, like with my friends and stuff. But yeah, I do appreciate that it's not just going over there and leaving the carcass to rot. You know, I can't tell you how much I appreciate that so much.
But yeah, it's an amazing experience. Just to, you know, this is getting a little off the subject, but we went, because once you go to Africa, you can never just go once. Our Tanzania trip was supposed to be a once in a lifetime trip, but we ended up we went to Mozambique last year, a whole different kind of hunt. We were on the Zambezi River, which was terrifying, with crocs and, crocodiles and hippos and strong currents and islands. And anyway, that's a whole other story, but, the people there, oh my gosh, Rick had no intention of hunting a hippo, but we had like people waiting for us on shore when we got back every night. The first night it was like 60 some, the next night I think it was 100 and some, the next night it was 167, and we were counting. And these people, they were hoping for protein. And wow. Oh my gosh, I mean, I just fell in love with these kids. We had these entourages to and from the boat. The little boat is just like a 14-foot boat in this scary river. And, it was just, you just fall in love with them. And even though Rick didn't plan on hunting a hippo, he ended up taking a management hippo, which means you bring none of it home. There's no trophy or all. It's just so many are allotted each year to provide meat to the people. So Rick paid the money. It's half price of a trophy fee, but it's still, decent amount.
Sure.
And just to be able to give the meat to the people. Wow. And to me, it was worth every cent, because I will just never forget, the villagers showing up and the boats coming to gather up the meat and take it home, and and the drums going along the side of the shore announcing that there would be hippo meat that night, and telling the villagers to come, and the little boy running off saying we're going to eat meat tonight. I mean, it was just, I'm telling you, it just hits you so hard, in a whole different way.
Wow, that's so cool.
But anyway, when I was back to Tanzania, sorry, I didn't mean to go there, but when I was in Tanzania, before I left, like I said, I changed I learned how hunting protects habitat in its natural state, especially these wild areas, because tourists don't want to go to these areas we went. They're just too remote. They're too tsetse fly infested. They're too rugged. There's no air conditioning, no infrastructure. So I learned how it protected habitat, and keeping it wild rather than turn it into pastures and farming. And I learned how hunting, poachers don't like to operate in hunting concessions. It's just too dangerous for them. And I learned more than anything, because I was really against direct hunting a leopard, to be honest. And I learned through our game scout. We were assigned a young game scout. Tanzania always assigns a game scout with every hunting party, and their job is to document everything and make sure everything's done legal. So she has no affiliation with the hunting concession at all. Well, we lucked out into this 23-year-old female, really smart, who could speak pretty good English, and her and I just hit it off, because she knew no one at camp either. So she taught me so much, and because she's there as a wildlife ranger, she's there to oversee everything. And she told me why even lion and leopard hunting is so important, because the people there do not want to live with these animals. It's killing their cattle, it's killing their livelihood, it's killing their kids. Last year, 3 brothers were killed while tending to cattle, while the other brother climbed a tree and had to watch his brothers get eaten. Not just killed,
God,
but actually
that's horrible.
eaten.
Like torn apart. Yeah, because it's not like a leopard's like, oh, here, let me kill you humanely and ethically. It's like, no, I'm going to sever your spine, and then I'm just going to eat your guts out. It's horrible.
Yeah.
God.
This brother had to watch that. Oh, I just can't even imagine. But so when you hear these stories and you hear from their perspective and why, she said, to be honest, villagers would just rather poison. And they don't have the money for guns, so what they usually do is use poison. Mm-hmm. So they poison some meat, and then it kills anything that eats that, including any animals that feed upon that. So it just doesn't kill just the lions and leopards. It kills anything else that eats it as well, including endangered vultures are now endangered because of that. And it's just. And then there's snares. When they poach, they're indiscriminate. Snares they get whatever it is. It's not organized. It's not like a few males at the end of their lifespan. When they poach with snares, it can get young, old, males, females. It just doesn't matter. So I just learned all this stuff from Lilian. And before I left, I made her a promise, because I knew if I understood hunting. So I wasn't really opposed to hunting. I just didn't want people hunting those animals.
Right.
So I realized if I had these questions and I had this, I saw what was happening in the anti-hunting world. And anyway, I made Lilian a promise that I would try to help the world understand. And I really didn't know what I was doing at the time. I'd never written a book before, but that promise kind of evolved into Cries of the Savanna.
Wow. That is insane. Everything, even just that little bit, the 10-minute blurb, there's so much to unpack in there. It's just nuts. Well, so let's fast forward just a few minutes. Okay. So let's start with the writing process itself. So you're there and you're like, this is a story that needs to be told. What is your next step?
Well, I did everything backwards. I had no idea when I went there I was going to write a book. But luckily, the couple we went with, she said, make sure you write everything down in a journal, because she had been there to Africa before. And she said, because you'll forget. And luckily, I had a really good journal. I had everything written down. And then I also had Lilian. Because of the magic of the internet, when I came home, and like I said, I tried spreading the word in other ways. And then I ended up actually writing a Christmas letter to my family and friends with my Africa adventure. And then that's what everybody's like, Sue, you need to put this in a book. So anyway, it kind of evolved into a book. And if I had any questions or couldn't remember the name of a river, I would just WhatsApp Lilian, and I could have an answer. If she wasn't out on patrol, I could have an answer in minutes. So having her, and she read every one of my chapters. Like I would write it, and then I would send it to her, and she would write it to make sure I got everything right and didn't misrepresent something. And so basically I wrote this book, and it took me 2 years to write because I kept writing and writing and writing because there's so much to say. And then I found out. Then I started the self-publishing because here's the thing. No publisher really wanted to deal with me because here I am. I'm a woman. I'm a non-hunter writing a book about, and a first-time author at that. I've never had anything published in my life. And here I am writing a book about hunting in Africa. So, so you can see why a publisher might not have been real interested.
Sure.
So anyway, I went the self-publishing route and just kind of muddled my way through, researched the internet, and then found a couple people, Jocelyn Engel from Hunters Inc. And then she met her on Instagram, and she liked the project so much that she actually took over as my editor and helped me out in that way. And then she found a cover artist from Africa. So I tried to keep all the money in Africa.
Wow.
So my artist is from Africa, the editor's from Africa. So, I just try to do that. And I just kind of evolved. I just kept researching and muddling and I'm still, to be honest, I'm still muddling my way through it all. But, I'm trucking along best I can.
Did you hire a PR firm or a marketing somebody, or have you done all the marketing and come up with all the strategies yourself?
I've done it all myself, other than researching on the internet and stuff. But I've gone to the conventions, and I've reached out to people, and I've emailed and contacted anybody I could, and I tried to build a presence on Instagram. And I met so many wonderful people on Instagram. I met Brittany Boddington and Craig Boddington, and was invited to the HuntFishTravel Camp, and Craig read my book and gave me a great testimonial on it. And I mean, I just kind of went to those conventions and put myself out there and introduced myself and gave a lot of books away. And just tried to do it that way, and try to do podcasts and try to get the word out, basically. But I'm now kind of experimenting with Amazon ads because to be honest, I'm exhausted from social media.
I believe it.
So I need to find another way to spread the word, basically.
That's interesting. There's so many resources out there too, and just like you said, just sifting through everything to find the right ones and not waste a bunch of time and money, and that's crazy. Do you think
it's difficult?
do you wish that a traditional publisher would have picked up your project, or do you feel like the self-publishing in the end was the right way to go?
I'm mixed about that. If some publisher came to me right now and said, I'll take it over and I can get it in the hands of more people, I would be so thrilled. I like what I learned, I have learned so much in the last couple of years by doing this process, but I'm just not an expert in the book industry. I'm not an expert in marketing. I don't know how to write these catchy, I know how to write a book, but I don't, I've got 4 awards. So I think I've done well on that, and I get such great feedback once I get it into people's hands. But I just, I don't know all those tricks of the trade. So, and to me, it's not so much about, I didn't write the book to make money, but of course you need money to continue it, to be able to keep going with it. But I would be happy if a, company would come along and say, Sue, we can get this into the hands of way more people. We can get this book known, because I just think it's such an important book. I don't want people to get the wrong impression. It's a fun, adventure-filled book, and it's hilarious in spots because I can be quite an idiot at times. So I do some pretty stupid things, but there's an underlying message there, about hunting, and so I really want hunters to read it, and then I wanted to share it with their non-hunting friends or anybody that they know that just doesn't quite get it or doesn't quite understand. I want people to fall in love with Africa like I did.
Sure. That's interesting. I don't think people realize how everybody's like, when self-publishing first came out, like became the thing. What was that? I don't know, 10, 15 years ago or whatever it was, when it really caught fire. I don't think people realized how much work, I mean, literally how much freaking work it takes to self-publish and do it right and be successful. I don't think anybody has any idea how many hours you've probably put into this.
Oh, I'm working for probably less than a penny an hour, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, it's when you actually figure your time and everything, but, and it turns out to be honest, the book writing is almost the easy part.
Sure.
It's the part afterwards, figuring this. Now, if I ever did another one, it would become easier because I've already done so much research, but it's quite the world to navigate. And there's like 2,000 books coming out a month from self-published. So you are just lost in the Amazon algorithms unless you can do stuff like this, podcasts, and just get it out into the world,
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Let's talk about some of the awards. Tell the listeners about the awards that you've received for it.
Well, someone told me, somebody I met on Instagram. So even though I get so tired of social media, I've met such wonderful people there. So Amy Hall for this Wild podcast, or her Wild Outdoors podcast. Anyway, she told me that I should submit my book to the Professional Outdoor Media Association Awards. And so I did, and I won the Pinnacle Award for the Professional Outdoor Media Association. And then someone else recommended I submit it to the Wildlife Society. So I won the Conservation Education Award for the Wildlife Society. I submitted it to Reader's Favorite, and I won the gold medal in the animal category for the Reader's Favorite. And in the Kindle Book Review Awards, I won semifinalist in nonfiction. And my cover is still up right now for it's a finalist in the cover category. So I'll find out on November 1st. But anyway, so that's been pretty good.
So the website is Sue Tidwell, SueTidwell.com. Tell the listeners where else they can find your book and where they can find out more about you.
So definitely go to my website, SueTidwell.com, to find out more about the book or me, and also just Amazon. If you just go to Sue Tidwell or Cries of the Savanna, I have a lot of information on my Amazon page. There's a lot of reviews there. My author page has pictures of the hunt, pictures of the people I met there. There's just a lot of information there too, if you like to look. And a lot of that stuff is also on the website. So, and you can order through Amazon, or actually if you email me, I can send a signed copy if you want to do it that way. I'm not quite totally set up for that yet, but if you just email me, I can sure do it that way. So, that's how to get a hold of me. Oh, and I'm also on Instagram. I'm on Instagram, SueTidwell.writer, and I'm on Facebook under SueTidwell.writer. So I'm on those too.
Oh, really cool. Very, very cool. And your website's lovely, by the way. So many times I go to people's websites and they're awful. But your website is really, really well laid out. There's a lot of links. You can read the first chapter right there, learn all about you. And
I have to pat myself on the back. I did that myself just by research.
That is amazing.
It took me a month. Like somebody else would probably do it in a day. It took me a month, but hey, I got it done. So.
No, it's really beautiful. The colors, everything is really beautiful. You can sign up for your mailing list. I just definitely go to SueTidwell.com. I'll note that in the show notes, of course. And when we share it on social media, we'll drive people back to the website, because this is really probably going to be the biggest place that you want to go if you want to read the book, listen to the other podcasts that she's been on, et cetera, et cetera. So, well, cool. Well, what do you think is your number one takeaway from your visit in Africa? Let's start with that.
Oh my gosh, the people. I just fell in love with the people. They're just so wonderful. I just can't, they just adopted us into, their little world, their world there in Tanzania. And they were just so generous and warm and sharing their culture and sharing what and I loved how much they cared about animals. They they wouldn't even kill. There was a bat hanging out above our dining hut that was driving me crazy, but they wouldn't even shoo it away. I mean, they wouldn't even, I didn't want them to kill it. I just it would have been nice to like redirect its sleeping habits, but they were just amazing. And the story they told, I just fell in love with the people. I learned some Swahili while I was there, cool. So that I could try to communicate with them. And see, I think they loved that. So then they just started teaching me Swahili. I mean, it was just crazy. But I think that's what I want people to know. You know, the book it definitely is about an exciting hunt, but it also, you're going to get to meet the people that I met and fell in love with. You're going to learn about their culture. You're going to hear their stories and, you know, and then you're also going to learn about the animals, because you can't understand Africa until you really understand the animals and the wildlife. I mean, we know it in one degree, but until you know it from their perspective, it's, anyway, so I just think overall, I don't know what it is about Africa, but it literally it's like a disease. It just infects you and you can't get rid of it.
And what do you think is your biggest takeaway in regards to self-publishing your own book? And then I'd like to follow up with, if someone else is interested in doing their own book, what would be the number one piece of advice you would give them?
I would, first of all, don't do it backwards like me. I would research first, you know, get an idea of what you need to do and what direction you need to go, and then write your book if that's any way possible. But like me, I wrote the book and then found out it was way too long and I had to delete almost half of it, and it's still a long book. But I just was writing. I wasn't keeping track of word count. And then also marketing is so critical, and they will tell you, you know, have to know your audience before you're writing. I didn't know that. I just knew I wanted to reach everyone because I just want the message to get to everyone. So, you know, I didn't follow some of that advice. I kind of did things backwards. So I just definitely, there's so many great sites on there. You know, Kindlepreneur, there's so many great sites that can help you with self-publishing, and YouTube is full of stuff. So just research a little bit before you dive into it.
Awesome. Well, very cool, Sue. Well, I thank you for taking the time to come on the show and talk about your book. And like I said, everything's going to go in the show notes. So if you're listening to this, make sure you subscribe on, you know, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Amazon Music, wherever it is, because I will put the link to her website and where you can, and probably the Amazon link too. I'll just link that in the show notes too. So it's really easy for people to find and download the book.
That would be great.
Cool.
I just want everybody to fall in love with Africa like I did. And I don't want you to think this is a preachy book. It's not a preachy book at all. It's a fun, entertaining book. And so just, you know, I just want to take you to Africa with me. So
awesome. Well, very cool. And that'll do it. Thanks so much for listening. Don't forget to find the show on iTunes. Just search for HuntFishTravel Podcast and hit the subscribe button. You can also follow me on social media. You can find HuntFishTravel on Facebook, or you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Carrie Zylka, CarrieZylka.